Okay. Hi, my name is Ashlyn. I work at Voulez-Vous and I'm also the owner. I grew up in the Inland Empire of California in a town called Laverne, right above Pomona. I have to say that sometimes because some people are like, "Where's Laverne?" I'm like, "It's tiny." Yeah. Sometimes I claim Pomona because I went to high school there for half the years, and I'm like, that's my second home. I opened this tattoo shop. It's coming up on 3 years in September. But yeah, it's gone by so fast. I signed a 3-year lease and I remember I was like, whoa, that sounds so far away. And all of a sudden I wake up now and it's like, oh, it's coming up. And I believe we're gonna sign another 3 years. So yeah, it's crazy. I'm really lucky to have found this location and this shop and all the people that came along and are working here now. It's a super special place. But yeah, 3 years. I didn't know that I wanted to open my own shop. I thought that was going to be something that happened way later on, like down the line for me. When I opened this place, I was only a few years into tattooing. And I just remember feeling pretty lost. I had worked in a couple shops before here, and the environment was just a little bit chaotic. It was like always, I felt super pressured in my work and having to be at the shop constantly. And I was kind of just tired of that pressure, and I wanted something different. And I looked around at shops because I didn't feel like at the time I was fully ready to jump in to be an owner. It's a big responsibility, and I didn't know the first thing about how to do that. So I did some guest spots around, and I was like thinking of working at another shop. So around the time I was considering options, uh, one of my friends was kind of hyping me up and she was helping me. Like, she was like, oh, look at this space you could rent. Like, what if? And I was like, nah, like, there's no way. Like, I don't know. That just seems like, I don't know the first thing about commercial leasing or anything. Um, but then I saw a place down the street open up and that kind of got the ball rolling. And I looked into it. I was like, okay, like, I can afford this. And even if it's just me for a while, like, no pressure. I just tried to like have no expectations for how it was going to work out. And I was kind of just going through the motions, and soon enough they offered me the lease and I was like, okay. I always just had this vision in mind of having a place where I could come to work and it feels super just comfortable and safe for my clients who come in. I had worked at places in the past where my clients were made to feel like really uncomfortable from the people that were around in the environment. So I knew no matter what, whether it was a shop I opened or another shop I worked at, like that was my hard line in the sand where I needed it to be like just a nice place to come, like just feeling like when someone walks in the door that they feel like a longtime friend and people greet them, which seems like very you know, low, like it seems like that should be a given, but just things like that where people who come into this space just feel welcomed. And I had a vision that I could create that, and I hope I did. People tell me that they feel super good in here when they walk in and comfortable and safe, and that's all I can ask for, really. The name came from an ABBA song. ABBA is one of my all-time favorite bands. And I remember sitting and thinking, like, well, like, what am I going to name the shop? And I was probably listening to ABBA, and I was like, maybe I should do something ABBA themed. And I said it out loud. I was like, oh, Voulez-Vous tattoo. And I was like, that rhymes. I'm like, hold on, this could be something. I knew full well in that moment, like most people would not know how to say the name because it's French. Uh, I also looked into it because personally I don't speak French, but I was like, I wonder what this word means. And to my understanding, it means, do you want it in French? It's like the beginning of a sentence, sort of. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Kind of goes sort of hand in hand with tattooing because I think it's important for, like, do you want this? Like, have that conversation, like the consent involved and communication. And I was like, that's pretty cool. Like, let's send it. And there's no, I don't think, other Voulez-Vous shops around tattoos, but I was like, oh, I could go with the classic, like, color and then object, but I just wanted to do something a little bit different. And then the space that I had in mind, I wanted it to be kind of like very 70s themed, obviously, and that sort of vibe. And that goes also hand in hand with ABBA. So that's where the name came from. What makes our shop unique is, I think, well, first of all, we have like the grand majority of girls who work here, which I think is pretty rad. We have a male artist who's my husband, and he's pretty cool too. But I feel like you don't find that too often. Like, there's definitely shops that are have majority female artists, but it wasn't my plan initially. Like, I didn't go into this being like, I need to have all women who worked here. But the fact that it worked out that way now, I think people can really tell when there's a touch of a woman around, just in the way that I feel like we are super, just like more often than not, like very sweet and caring and kind, and we take care of our clients in that way too. But yeah, you don't find, I feel like, a lot of shops. You're getting more and more of that, I think, in this like year, but I mean, I think it's down the line. Tattooing has always been super male dominated, and to have a space where it's female dominated, I think is pretty cool. Just kind of reversing the script a little bit, and I'm super happy to work with everyone that is here as well. But yeah, beyond that, I feel like what makes our shop unique is just the energy when you walk in, everyone just treats everyone like family, and everyone at our shop, we all are like best friends, and we love each other, and we look out for each other beyond tattooing. And I don't think you find that a lot in a lot of work environments. So I think that's what makes us special. Beyond tattooing, I think everyone does a really cool and unique style here too, which is awesome as well. A typical day, I guess it depends if I'm working or not. If I'm tattooing, I usually wake up a couple hours before my appointment, try to have a coffee in. I spend some time with my husband. We usually have a little breakfast, and then sometimes we get to carpool to the shop if we have appointments that align, which is pretty nice. And then usually I do about 2 appointments a day, finish up in the evening, and we'll go home and have probably our second meal of the day, a big dinner. And most of the time I have some drawing to do probably for the next day. So get to that drawing. If I have some free time, I like to paint flash or work on stained glass as well sometimes if I have the chance to. And then my days off look pretty similar, just without the tattooing part. I'm usually working on something. I just love making art and creating. I feel like I don't know what to do if I'm not doing that, So beyond art, I like to spend some time outside. I mean, we live in Southern California, so we're super blessed to have the sun out most of the time. So sometimes I'll go to the beach and just lay out and get the vitamin D that I probably didn't get enough of all week. But yeah, that's a pretty typical day for me, I would say. Before tattooing, I was going to school for a little bit. I had an idea in mind that I wanted to be an art teacher or an art therapist. I knew I always wanted to do something in the arts, so I figured that was kind of the most comfortable plan for me. And I love kids as well. So I was kind of going through the motions of school, and I went to community college for 3 years and then transferred to a university, Cal Poly Pomona, and went there for a full 1 semester and ended up dropping out when I found my apprenticeship. So that was like right before tattooing. And before I was going to school, I was working at an art museum called The Broad in downtown LA. And I worked there 3 years. So yeah, I was always kind of doing something revolving art. I was trying to, I told myself if I have a job and it's a 9 to 5, it's still going to have something to do with it because I felt like that was kind of the only thing I loved and was good at. And then I worked odd jobs here and there. I worked at a dispensary to make money when I was doing my apprenticeship. Worked at Baskin Robbins. That was my first job ever, was scooping ice cream and decorating cakes. They put me to decorating cakes once they found out that I was artistic. They were like, get in the back. You're going to be piping these cakes all day long. Okay, 16, 17 years old. $8 an hour. But yeah, that was kind of my life before tattooing, just on the path of school, and I had intentions of graduating fully and doing some sort of certification afterwards. But tattooing came along.
And how did you get into tattooing?
I met who became my mentor. I met him in New York. I was traveling with some friends on the first semester I had off of school, and I just walked into the shop and I really liked his work. I got tattooed from him, and we did this like pretty big skull floral piece, and it was one of my first like darker pieces at the time. I was kind of getting more fine line stuff before that, and I saw his work and I was immediately super drawn to it. I saw a piece that he was working on, and it was this big super dark raven on this girl's arm, and I was like, I need something like that. I think it was so powerful, I remember thinking. And when he did my tattoo, luckily he had time. Come to find out that he was a guest artist just visiting from Brazil, and he tattooed me the next day, and we got along super well. He told me like his story getting into it. I was interested in getting tattooed at that time, or starting to tattoo at that time, but I didn't know the right path or like how to do it or how to get into it. But he was super encouraging, like very inspiring to me, like how we got into it. And so yeah, we stayed in touch when I moved back, or when I went home after that trip. And he was telling me how much he wanted to come out to California because it was his like dream. He didn't want to be stuck in gloomy New York. He was from Brazil. He like needed the sun. And I was like, come on out, like try it out. And the next thing I knew, he had booked a one-way flight and was like, I'm moving to California. So it's like, cool, I'll help you the best I can to get you on your feet. Like, he barely knew me, but I was the only person he knew in California, so I kind of felt obligated to help him. I was like, here, like, check this shop out. I've been tattooed here. They seem awesome. Maybe they'll let you work. He got hired immediately there, and I was helping him get to that shop. He actually ended up moving in with a friend of mine who had an open room, and I was giving him rides to and from the shop before I was going to school and afterwards. And so we got to know each other pretty well then. And he was telling me like, I think you can do it. I see you're drawing all the time. Like, why are you going to school? You don't need school to be an artist. And then at some point he offered to teach me. But he gave me the ultimatum and said, I will only teach you if you drop out of school, because you can't do both. There's no way that you can put your heart and soul into tattooing if you have something else that's keeping you busy. So that didn't take much convincing, and I think I dropped out the next week. I just stopped going to school and was kind of just following him around, watching everything he was doing, how he was drawing, and he took me under his wing. And he wasn't able to teach me at the shop that he was working at because they were kind of sticklers, like, oh, we don't take apprentices here, and that was fine. I just showed up every day still and made myself available to them. I was like, whatever you need me to do, I'll clean the floors, I'll scrub the toilets, I was mostly just like really keen to see the process, and I just had like a gut feeling and like a belief in myself that I could get there. And I just really tried to focus on that because I wanted it so bad. And yeah, he ended up leaving that shop and got his own space, and that was where he was finally able to teach me. So I'm really grateful for how that all worked out, because I know that there's so many people that don't have, like, it doesn't kind of land in their lap that way, the way it did for me. I feel like it was really just divine timing and right place, right time for me. So I feel like extremely lucky and grateful to my mentor, and for that. That's like, it was the gift of a lifetime that he was able to show me the path.
And what was your mentor's name?
His name is Giuliano Trindade. I have been tattooing, and I think, let's see, 5 years. Yeah, I hit 5 years earlier this year. I do a take on American traditional tattooing. Some would call it like European traditional. It's a little more finer lined than the typical super bold American traditional. But yeah, that's the style I do, I would call it. Wow, I have a lot of inspirations. I think number one is definitely my husband. I looked up to his work before I even knew him, and I, being around him all day, every day, I'm just like still in awe of what he does and his creativity. And yeah, I aspire to be on the level that he's at. It's amazing to watch him, and he's taught me a lot. I kind of feel like since being with him, I've sort of undergone a second apprenticeship, because he's shown me so much, and I feel like I've grown a lot since knowing him. And yeah, beyond that, I mean, my mom is a huge inspiration to me. She was pretty much raised us as a single mom and with 3 girls, and I saw the way that she hustled so hard to make a great life for us, and I just feel really grateful that she is my mom. My best friend's a big inspiration to me. She's a photographer, super creative. I've known her since we were like 12 years old. We met on the internet just by being friends of the same band. And yeah, such an amazing creative woman. And more inspirations in tattooing, I would say. The list is probably like hundreds deep. Cheyenne Sawyer, he's up in Portland, Oregon. He's been tattooing for a super long time, and such an amazing guy on top of being such an incredible artist. He does a ton behind the scenes beyond just tattooing. He paints and makes these like elaborate collages, and I just love everything that he creates. And obviously all the girls here inspire me a lot. It's awesome to be surrounded by them and see what they're making every day. But yeah, I would say those are my main inspirations. But it's always, I mean, the list of tattooers is impeccably long. My favorite thing about tattooing is just I think the act of like creating with someone else, especially, because someone brings you an idea and it's like up to you to make that idea possible, and coming into work and showing someone a design that I made and them helping me make it better, or them loving it and being like, let's do it, or like, I think that's just like such a special, like, I think the human interaction, it's awesome. Just that like trust that people give you to mark their bodies permanently. I I think it's crazy. Like when I'm tattooing sometimes and I sit and think like, wow, like this person trusts me a lot, huh? Like they want something I created on them forever. Like it's it's insane. Um I think the community in tattooing, when you can find it, I think that's one of the most beautiful things that tattooing has to offer. It's just so amazing to be surrounded by people who love the same thing as you and are so driven and sharing pieces of history about tattooing, or sharing designs, or trading tattoos. Like there's something just so beautiful in the community of tattooing, like historically. And yeah, I'm just really grateful to be a part of it and to share it with other people. My favorite thing to tattoo, it changes, but probably lady heads. I just love tattooing ladies. You can do them so many different ways and have them like altered, or like I also love tattooing just all sorts of animals. Love tattooing flowers a lot. I mean, that's pretty simple, but you can just do so much with them. Um, I end up tattooing a lot of elbows, and I kind of love it, especially just like a webbed out elbow. It just like I think is just an awesome piece to put there. Um, yeah, stuff all related to that. But lady heads is probably my number one. I love tattooing ladies, pinups, all that jazz.
And what would you like to tattoo more?
Mm, I would I would love to tattoo, well, of course, always more ladies, butterflies, fairies. I love when you like make a hybrid like that. I'm working on a book right now, not like a published book, but more so a flash book. And it's like 120 pieces that are all around palm sized. And I put out a couple teasers here and there, but I haven't fully posted it yet. And I'm really excited to tattoo off that book because I painted all of them. I did some that are painted with liquid acrylic, and then I did some that are just like colored pencil because it was taking a long time to paint 120 little pieces of flash. But yeah, I'm almost done with it. I probably have like 20 or so little flashes left to make, but I'm going to be very stoked to tattoo from that. Some of the favorite pieces I've done usually ended up being like the large scale work. I finished a couple back pieces, and my favorite one I did was like a lady riding a horse. I believe it's an old Ben Corday back piece, but it's, yeah, framed with roses. And it took us like quite a few sessions, maybe like 5 or 6, because we just worked in like small increments, like 2 or 3 hours at a time. But it was just so fun seeing it all come together at the end. Like you really have to trust the process. You're like, oh, it's just like a back full of lines. And then the next time you get like a little bit more shading and a little bit more. And then at the end you have just like this big, beautiful piece that frames the body. And so yeah, I think back pieces are definitely like my favorite to do, and I would love to do more. Or just like large scale other stuff like full leg or stomach piece, stuff like that. Then again, I love throwing in the little palm sized or less pieces here and there. It's good to break it up and yeah, have some have some breaks from doing the large scale stuff as well. Ooh, some of my favorites. I really like this crane I have on my stomach. It's by this artist in she's in Indiana. Her name is Becca Lerner, but I had always really loved her work, and she was doing a guest spot in LA, and I hopped on it as soon as she posted it. But yeah, I just love the way that it situates. She just is an amazing tattoo artist. And I have so many tattoos from my husband. We're trying to work on this leg piece by piece, but this Sacred Heart lady, this little butterfly lad, this big peacock. I love this one. It's a cover up too. And then he did this geisha on the back, which is kind of probably hard to see. But I love the way that this is coming out. We kind of just want to like piece it together super full and then hopefully work our way up the thigh. I have a lot of favorites. One of our friends, Sarah, she did my neck recently, last year at some point, and loved it. It was painless. She just has the hands of an angel, and obviously it's in a very prominent spot, and I knew that she would kill it, and she did. So love that. I got my chest done last year too by this guy named John, who's also Argentinian and a friend of my husband. His Instagram is like Aquarian TTT, I think. But yeah, I love this too. I'd always wanted a piece on my chest, kind of ornamental, and he knocked it out of the park. It's definitely, I feel like I'm still like new enough into tattooing since I've only been in it about 5 years, where I haven't seen such drastic changes that a lot of my peers have. I think when I started, it was like right out of the pandemic. So I got in at a very great time, people say. Like everyone was really tired of being cooped up in their house and just like ready to get a bunch of tattoos, which worked out in my benefit because I was working at a walk-in shop and it was just like through the door 10 walk-ins a day, like little guys, and it was great for repetition and stuff. But I feel like before that, it's kind of always been going in like waves. I feel like people say like, oh, like some years. It really, I think, is tied to economy too. When people don't have extra spending money, then it doesn't obviously go to tattooing, and people feel that and they hurt. And I think that's really tough. And I think people are seeing that right now because we're in a pretty bad spot with the economy. And but yeah, I think it's just important to ride those waves out. And I think it seems like there's always going to be dips, but I think just like never straying away from the focus of, hey, I love this and I put everything else on the line for this craft, like I'm going to see it through no matter how bad it gets. That's my mindset, at least. I hope that I never have to leave tattooing because it's become my whole life. But yeah, that'd be, I guess, like the biggest change that I've seen. I've been pretty fortunate and to stay busy enough and have amazing clients, but I know that that's not the case like for a lot of tattooers right now. But yeah. Some of my favorite artists would be, I have to shout out pretty much like a bunch of artists in Spain that I really look up to. They obviously do like the European traditional that I really love to do. My probably favorite artist right now is Mickey Mike's is his handle. That's why he goes by Mickey. And he did like this big old snake on me. I feel like if I could resemble any tattoo artist or come close to what they're doing, it would be this guy. He's also just the nicest dude on the planet. And then he also works with Rafa de Cranio and Sarah, his wife, and they're just mind-blowingly good. And then go even deeper, the mentor, I believe, of Rafa, his name is Bara. He works in Madrid at a shop called True Love that he owns. Insane. I think he's like the father, the godfather of tattooing. He's just implemented so much into the craft and just so creative. The way you see that he makes things and his technique and his style, and I love everything about it. There's a girl working right now up in Fresno. Her name's Hannah Evans, and she started tattooing a little bit before me, and I've always really loved her work. She's also an amazing painter, and I was lucky enough to get tattooed from her and meet her. Sweetest soul, and she's someone I look up to a lot as well. Yeah, so many. Cheyenne, like I said, and my husband as well. And yeah, those would be like the main people I would say that are inspiring me constantly. Yeah, the first place I ever guest spotted was in Austin, Texas, at a shop called Black Dagger. I was probably a year into tattooing, and I was so scared. I was like, how do you reach out to shop? What if they say no? And then I was like, you know what? I just have to put myself out there. Like, I don't know anyone at this shop. I really like their work. They're on like such a high level, and I just really wanted to visit Texas. I'd never been before, and I saw that there was just a ton of traditional tattooing going on. So, yeah, I found their shop, and I remember just messaging them and being like, hey, I don't know how to do this, but can I come work with you guys? And I remember the owner, AJ, being like, yeah, that's fine, as long as you're not a weirdo. And I was like, I'm not a weirdo. And I was like, oh man, like, I hope it works out. Like, I hope that they're nice. And I get there and they just like, they welcome me with open arms. They're like so kind and welcoming. And I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. So that got like my feet wet. And I was like, this is awesome. Like, this is such like a huge perk of the job, like being able to travel and make connections and meet other artists. And yeah, I was kind of hooked after that. I started going up to, I was like, okay, let me travel a little bit more. I found a shop in San Francisco that I really liked their stuff too. And the owner actually reached out to me instead, I believe, and she offered like a guest spot position. So I took her up on it and ended up really just like loving that shop, and ended up being super busy in San Francisco. So I was like, okay, I guess I have to come up more often. And I was going up pretty much like every month for a week. I was also in a shop at the time where I wasn't really just aligning with how things were going, and I was kind of trying to like test out if San Francisco might be an option for me to move. And I was really considering actually going up and moving at some point. But life had other plans. I ended up staying down here, obviously. But yeah, in the meantime, I've done guest spots in New York City a few times. I've done guest spots in Arizona. We just went last year to this shop called Yours Truly. Amazing, beautiful shop. Everyone there was so kind, so sweet. Took us out to dinner every night we were there. It's just really just felt like that was like tattoo family right off the bat, which is really special. I've worked at guest spots before where it's just a different type of energy, like that maybe doesn't necessarily match mine. I feel like I'm pretty welcoming and kind, and I'm down to like hang out and meet people. But there's been times where I've been to shops and they just kind of want to keep to themselves and come in, come out, which is also totally fine too. I wouldn't consider those shops a bad experience either. I also went and guest spotted in London and Paris. That was about 3 years ago now. That was the trip that I met Imanol, my husband, on. I did those guest spots and I was like, it would just be really cool to say that I tattooed in Europe. Why not? And I went there, and the last week I was flying out of Barcelona, and that's when I found the shop that he worked at and got tattooed from him. So that was a very special guest spot trip. But yeah, more recently I've kind of, ever since getting the shop, kind of stayed more put, because I feel like I want to be around to make sure everyone's good and has everything they need, and just be available for the girls here. We don't have a shop manager or anything. I kind of take the reins and I try and clean, order supplies. Everyone helps out with everything here pretty much, but I do just want to make sure everything is set for them and yeah, be around. But I am keen to travel a bit more soon to do some more guest spots. Also going to Portland, of course. Yeah, I forgot about that. We go to Portland, Oregon a lot to guest spot. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Mostly the West Coast, and then occasionally New York, mostly to visit my friend out there. And then I'm like, well, of course, I'll work out here a couple of days too. But yeah, that's kind of my guest spot experience. It is. Portland has like one of the best, especially like traditional tattooing scenes. I think that's happening right now. There's the level of artists up there is insane. Like Tattoo Smile, Atlas, of course, Icon, Thunderbird, just like everyone that works at those shops is next level good. And so when I go up there, it's kind of like, oh, you want to get tattooed from me? Are you sure? Like you have all these other artists available, but all the clients I've worked with up there are also just amazing, super down. Like, let's go bigger. Like, let's do color, and I'm like, yay. So yeah, I love going up there too, and so does he. My husband, he loves Portland. But yeah, um, to someone considering getting tattooed from me, I mean, I'm always honored when someone likes my work enough to consider. And, um, I would just say I always try and put my clients' wants and needs above anything else. I'll never try and convince you to get something that you don't want. I'll always check in with you and make sure everything's good. Yeah, I know how it is being tattooed. It's painful as fuck. Like, no tattoo is easy. If someone says, tattoos are painless, they're lying. But so I try and just make the experience as chill and easy as possible. Give you as many breaks as you possibly need. I'll move the stencil around 10 times, We can do that. I'll never be mad or angry at you for that or flustered. It's like, it's your tattoo. It's on you forever. And I'll make the time to make sure that it's exactly what the person wants and is envisioning. But yeah, I would just say thank you for considering.
Do a little tattoo tour?
Yeah, of course.
Shop tour.
Shop tour? Yeah, there ain't much, but she's small but mighty.
Get ready to go.
Okay. So, kind of first things first, this beautiful door that we have is painted by this guy named Shrine. His Instagram is Shrine On, and he came in here one day and he just like took a flat paintbrush. And I swear he did this probably in 10 minutes. I was tattooing watching him, trying to like see, and it was just like over before I knew it. He did like a little sponge to get all those dots. I love this door though. It was just a plain old tan door before, and now I feel like it has so much life. And he also painted the outside of the shop, which I love as well. It just love everything he does. And once you see his stuff once, you'll see it kind of everywhere. He does a lot of tattoo shops and does a lot of creative endeavors. So love him, love that. I have this like stained glass that I got from this girl named Heather Dawn. She just had someone, I think she commissioned it for, and it became available. So I swooped on that. I love supporting other artists. We have a ton of prints up here. There's a few trickled in of our own, but most of them are just, actually I think every person up there is like a homie of ours, and that we've gotten a print from. Either we traded prints with them or we bought it directly. But yeah, that's our little like homie wall. And yeah, we obviously got like plants and stuff everywhere. I feel like it really just gives life to the space, so I try and have plants here and there. This is Bridget's station, and she's our newest hire. Amazing girl, amazing tattoo artist. I love her little pictures and stuff. And yeah, we got some like, I like mixing in kind of like vintage art with like tattoo art. So you see we have like Pharaoh's horses here, which is an old painting but a really classic traditional tattooing motif. I think I found that on eBay. I think it's just an old lithograph print or something. And then, yeah, I've gotten some like little things here and there from vintage stores or people's online stores. This is an artist, I believe she's in Italy. This is Mickey Mike's, who's a friend of ours in Spain. And yeah, everything else. I mean, this is my station over here. We got Hannah Evans and Barra Madrid. We're both artists that I was talking about earlier. And another Mickey Mike's. We got Weston, who's up at Spider Murphy's. This is Becca Lerner. It's pretty cool. I didn't realize pretty much every artist I talked about, we have some pieces from them hanging, which makes sense because they're inspirations to me. We got this banner that I painted recently for a tattoo convention that we went to in Texas. And then that's Imanol's station, and that's his convention banner. He's got a lot of his own artwork next to his station. So all those in the corner bottom are his. And another Barra. But yeah, these are all our stations. This one's tucked in. They don't really have any wall space, unfortunately, but they've got some artwork that's hanging in our waiting room area. This is Gianna's station. This is Julia's station. Yeah, we got the little waiting room and the homies. Yep, this is where we lead everyone to come and kind of like sit and wait while they're waiting for tattoos. And we have flash books over there and a flash wall. And some plants, of course. Got a little stripe wall. This was kind of like the first thing that I did when I got into the space. I guess this was priority. I was like, I want a 70s swirl like on one of the walls. So I painted that pretty immediately, and I love it. Just adds some fun color into the shop. And then this building has been around, I think, since the early 1900s. So I feel like it's got some fun characteristics. We have like slanted ceilings. This, I'm pretty sure, is a fake wall that they put up to separate the space, which works out perfectly because now it's our drawing room and storage area. We have 2 bathrooms for some reason, like tiny bathrooms. Don't know why. For a small space, we needed 2, but it works out. We got 1 in the drawing room, 1 for the clients. Yeah, it's quite a mess back here, but this is where some of the magic happens. It's kind of the life of an artist. We got a half-ripe banana and light table. We got a big old thing where we keep all our supplies, kind of. And yeah, this room was pretty dark and a little bit sad, so I added this wallpaper, and I think it gives a little more life in here. And eventually want to change out that ceiling fan for like a cool fixture, but you know, it's not priority. But yeah, this is like where we have our books and stuff like that, and you can find us in here before our appointments drawn away. But yeah, that's pretty much it, besides the bathrooms, of course, which aren't very exciting. Just a toilet. We do have like a fun heart wall that I painted and some Polaroids of the shop and our guest artists and stuff that have come through. But yeah, it was really fun to create this space. I was in such a tiny spot. I was in a private studio for a year before this, and it was just like minuscule. It's probably the size of this room, actually. So when I brought all of the stuff over, I was like, oh, I'm gonna have so much artwork already. And I got here, and it filled up about like 5 feet of wall. I was like, awesome. I'm gonna have a lot of buying to do and a lot of vintage shopping and print ordering. But yeah, it feels now finally like it's full. But some people who came here in the beginning, like the first 6 months to a year we were open, it was very kind of bare bones while we were filling up the space. But now it feels awesome. I feel like I'm honestly a maximalist, so I'm like, less wall space that's showing, kind of the better. It's just, you know, we're artists, so I feel like we're always inspired by what we're seeing, so it's important to have things up that we're constantly looking at and feel inspired by. Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you.